All on airplane mode, boys, please. Just to keep our boys happy here. Everyone happy, Mark. Everyone.
Have a good day for me. All right.
Right, folks, you're very welcome to the Northern Ireland press conference prior to the qualifier against Kazakhstan, and a special welcome to Northern Ireland fans watching on the Up Northern Ireland YouTube channel. So, I'm going to keep this tight, boys. A couple of questions each, please. So, I'm going to start with Ian Parker.
Hi, Johnny, if I can start with you. There was maybe a sense of frustration in the final whistle in Denmark. Having had a couple of days to reflect, what's the movement?
Yeah, there was frustration. I actually spoke to someone who was at the game last night, and they came away I think the fans were quite buoyant after the game. That emotion of scoring the goal, all right, it got taken away, but, still give everyone that feeling. And I said after the game about young Callum scoring the goal, getting that feeling, hopefully that makes him more hungry, and even us as a team, to show that we can go and compete and score goals away from home. All right, it was offside, but it was very fine margins.
But it was a good performance in the sort of hardest place to go in the group. Do you take confidence from the way you played?
Yeah, we've watched the game back this morning, going over a few things, hopefully things that we can do better and things that we did well in the game, so just take the positives from that.
You're coming off a difficult away game. There's obviously an away double-header coming up. How important is it to capitalise on the home game?
Well, our home form over the years has always been something that we've relied on. It's a big game against Kazakhstan on Monday now, and but Windsor Park, we've risen to the occasion before, and I think everyone's looking forward to getting out there.
Well, he's got through the training session, so hopefully, obviously that's a positive. We just need to see how he reacts the rest of the day. The nature of that type of injury just means that overnight he could stiffen up again, or he could feel a little bit uncomfortable with it. But we're optimistic, having the fact that he's come through today, that he'll be available for tomorrow.
Any other issues in the system?
Well, we've got a little bit of a doubt about Conor Bradley, and we've a doubt about Paddy McNair, who both sat out of training today. You saw Conor obviously damaged his knee, or hyperextended his knee in the first half, but he was able to play on and he was fine. But I think he's improved considerably, feeling a lot better in himself. But again, we just got to give both those lads as much time as possible to give them the best chance of being available for selection. Paddy's just had a little bit of an Achilles issue that we just had to manage him through this week a little bit as well.
Okay, Mark, McIntosh.
Johnny, obviously you've had a chance to train with a lot of the younger lads in the build-up to the first game. Just how much more impressed were you when you saw them in action?
I thought they were very good, and especially in the forward areas. It's always exciting when you got the young lads coming in, and you give you that bit of a goal threat. And I thought all the players that come off the bench did really well.
What is it in particular that's impressed you? Because obviously you've seen a lot of the younger lads come through down the years.
I think their all-round play, they look very mature, I have to say, and even Dale's played a bit of senior football in England in the last couple of months, and you can see it even in his game, and even for being such a young age, he looks like a man already.
And in terms, obviously, it's a home game, there's always a little bit of added pressure, given the fact that there's a lot of fans here as well. Do you ever feel that, or do you just take it as a normal game?
No, we get that, when you play at home, when you play at home, you got to take the game to the opposition a bit more. There's no doubt about that, and I would be expecting to do that, and probably we expect ourselves to probably have a little bit more control in the game in terms of having the ball in possession, and we got to make that count.
Michael, just how different do you prepare for this game? Because it's a different type of game.
Look, it's the biggest challenge is always in international football is when you have two sort of, I wouldn't say contrasting games, but two different types of opposition, and obviously you've only got 2 days to prepare. We had to travel as well, so I think a lot of it's about consistency of the work that we do. What we were very pleased with a lot of what we did out of possession in the game on Friday night. We looked back at the goal and how we lost it, and I think the players recognised that. And it's about, you know, not being passive in the game and trying not to be passive at any point in the game, because the game is decided by that one moment. So yeah, I think, look, we've worked consistently in a short space of time, both in March and this window, to try and make ourselves better out of possession. We felt in the Finland game that, you know, that was probably the one thing that we were disappointed with. Ultimately, our quality of play will be determined, you know, by our own individual players, and structure of the team as well, obviously, and then confidence. And you get that here, you know, like, I think everyone, particularly, you know, they enjoy playing here. The pitch has obviously been relayed. It's playing very quick, which is excellent. And as I say, you know, a positive atmosphere in here generally leads to a positive performance, and that's hopefully what we get.
Finally, for me, just in terms of on the ball, we created a lot more chances as well as obviously the one that was disallowed. You must be very comfortable.
Well, yeah, look, the game was always, we turned the ball over in the first half a little bit too often, to be honest. You know, I think we if we were going to be critical of the performance in any way, that's where we would be critical of it. I think that in the final 15-20 minutes of the game, the substitutions made the game a little bit disruptive, which suited us. It's more difficult to do that in the early part of the game. So it was good because the subs had the impact that we hoped they'd have. We obviously have more attacking players on the pitch. Denmark have a situation where they've got something to protect as well as the game progresses. So yeah, those are all little factors, I think, in terms of how the game has played out. But you know, the most important thing was we kept in the game. You know, after we lost the goal, I felt, you know, we were possibly liable to concede again, and then the game becomes almost impossible to come back from that situation. But we showed the right resilience, and that was a pleasing aspect, because, you know, you're relying obviously on your experienced players, but, you know, the younger ones dug in that situation as well. Hi, Gareth.
How do you sort of assess tomorrow night's performance? They obviously came to a big scalp back in March.
Yeah, I think, look, they're probably the most difficult team to assess, because obviously their players aren't playing in a lot of the European leagues. They're a little bit more of an unknown quantity. You know, Matt, our analyst, has done a lot of work on them. They've been consistent in terms of how they've played, and they've got off to a great start. So for you know, like, I think they would have gone to San Marino and expected to win the game. But the big result for them was obviously at home to Denmark and coming from 2 goals behind. So, you know, they'll be delighted with the start they've made. But I think the focus is, when they're a little bit more of an unknown quantity, I tend to focus more on our team as much as I can, and that's what we've tried to do, obviously, in the turnaround time being as short as what it has been. Yeah, look, we've seen already in the group the nature of the results. You know, a win puts us on 6 points, and we can look forward to the second half of the campaign from there. We obviously have difficult away games in September as well, but I think, you know, it's important that we start to build that kind of winning culture again, and particularly here at home, because when we were competing consistently for qualification, you know, our home form was the backbone of that, and I think, as Johnny touched on, you know, we need to get back to being, you know, showing that we can win games here, and none of these games will be easy. You know, this will not be, it'll be every bit as difficult as any other of the teams that come here, and they'll present a different challenge, maybe different style of play from what we would have seen from the Danes, for example. But yeah, the most important thing is building that sort of belief and confidence in the team to play here with, you know, with winning results.
Johnny, spoke about the young players there, you know, sort of about their quality, but how impressed them with their sort of mentality? There's no fear kind of things.
Yeah, there's obviously there's a few of them. So Isaac was fantastic in the first half, and he ran, which is sometimes, you know, for the young lads, you know, they don't understand, you know, the sort of work rate that goes in, but he put himself about and his challenges, and I thought some of his touches and his play, and young players give you that, you know, they've got no fear and they're able to take the ball and try things, and you can see that when they come on as well. Dale had a little bit of skill, and obviously Callum, unfortunately, to get the goal taken on, so it's good to see the young lads, and like you said, they always no fear about them to come on and express themselves.
Mark, Sterling?
Johnny, just one for yourself. How do you feel just sort of physically after playing on Friday and then obviously having a game so quickly afterwards? You feel okay, good shape?
Yeah, I feel good. Obviously, get another day of recovery, which is good, and we've been travelling yesterday and today, just going out and trying to just get the legs moving again. But it's something I've been used to over the years. I think obviously when I first started international football, there was a little bit longer in between games, but it's more or less 2 or 3 days now, and you're straight back in. But we're trying to do everything we can. Everyone will be doing everything we can to make sure that we're all physically right.
Just in terms of the players, after such a high on Friday night and take it away, do the players talk about it for long, or do you try and just put it behind you? How do the players deal with that sort of disappointment?
You do. I mean, I think you can try and forget about it, but it's always, we all go in and talk probably like the fans do, like everyone else, and discuss it and then get it out of your system, and you try and move on as quickly as you can. And I think as soon as we get back to the hotel, you're almost straight away trying to focus on the next game and get prepared for that. Especially as a player, you're automatically thinking about recovery. I'm sure as a coach and a manager, it's different. You're probably looking back, analysing the game, and different sort of priorities. But for us, like I say, getting right mentally and physically.
And Michael, just for yourself, has it been a difficult job as the manager after what happened Friday, the way the goal was taken off us? Or does it look after itself how the players get over that, or do you have a job to do there?
I think, I spoke to the players after the game, and the most important thing was that they understood that despite the disappointment of that they take a lot from the game. But I think you have to draw a line under it, to be honest. And we did that, and you have to quickly move on to the next game, which as a staff that we've tried to do. I think if anything, it's probably a little bit more difficult for the players to move on because, they put so much into the game, but we have to change our focus, and we've, when they're playing back, between analysing Kazakhstan and obviously looking back at areas of the game that we could improve, and that's where we spent our time. There's no point looking at the goal over and over and over again, hoping that eventually it'll change the outcome, because it isn't going to. So you just get used to dealing with that, and that's pretty much, we moved on quite quickly.
Johnny tossed it up there, sort of when the goal went in on Friday, it felt like a proper big moment. The players, the staff, especially the fans, and I suppose down the years you've delivered big moments. Is that something that you going into Monday night, there's a big focus now, if we could try and recreate something big again like that?
Well, yeah, look, it's been such we've had 3 games, so we've not had a lot of time to create big moments, and so it would have been nice to get one. Believe me, it took me a lot longer in my first tenure to get a big moment, so I'm well used to that. So I think, we've got a group of players that have been over the course, and we've got a number of younger, inexperienced players with us at this minute in time. And they're enjoying the experience of international football. But what they have to enjoy is they have to get to the point, there's taking part and there's winning. And that's what we have to get in this group. And that may take a little bit of time because they are younger players. And once you have them at that point, that they believe they can win, some of them are only starting to believe they can play at this level. Now they have to start to believe, hopefully quickly, well, we can win at this level as well. And that's what obviously we hope we can instill in them over this campaign, and obviously with the game tomorrow night.
Just lastly, Mark touched on that's maybe the slightly different approach we might have for Monday night. But for the likes of Isaac, the way some of the touches he had on Friday night, his forward play, does that give you confidence that we have that in the squad to switch to maybe a more attacking play?
Well, look, we have to. When we were successful as a team, the backbone of that was always built on how we were without the ball. I don't think that's going to change. What I do feel is we have a lot of good young technical players in our group as well. They probably have to recognise the importance of how the team is without the ball. And once they do that and add that to their game, the technical side of the game will take over, and because that's natural for them. That's the easy part of the game for them. Isaac and Shea are very good examples of that. Connor as well. They're all very good technically. They're very good athletically as well. And the younger ones, the cameos that we saw off the bench as well, have shown that they have the ability to deal with the ball at this level, and that's all we can ask. In terms of the approach. Look, at home you always have to try and force the game more, of course, But we also have to recognise that, you know, our success is built on the fact that we've got really good centre backs. We have, you know, a little bit of inexperience at times in our midfield, but I think we have the makings of a really good midfield, and that will be the backbone of our team as well. And somewhere along the line, hopefully someone will pop up and become a regular goal scorer for us again. Thank you.
Michael, just on that, I'm going to speak to you about the goal again, but on make it positive, because two real positives to coming from a set piece, which you work on a lot, and just the nature of Calvin's finish, the instinctive coaching element. I mean, that's something that's really positive going forward, isn't it? If we can get that type of striker who can take those.
Well, look, we've brought Callum in the 21s camp. I'd not met him before, and he came in very fresh faced as he is, and very natural enthusiasm for the game shone through. Like, he's 18 years old, he's playing under 18s football, so he's even young to be in a 21s camp, to be honest. But straight away you could see that he could score and he could finish. So we brought him along for the 2 senior camps. He continued with that, and he was scoring and he was finishing in them. So we decided to bring him as part of the squad. So, you know, he's come a hell of a long way in 3 weeks, to be honest. But, you know, what he does, you have to get a goal from somewhere. And, you know, I always felt that our best chance in the game would be to create something off a set piece. And look, there was no sophistication in that set piece. It was about getting the ball forward and making sure that we got first contact on the ball. But what he did show his finish is something that, like, that's not something you coach or something. That's just an instinctive player that had the ability to how you steer the ball towards the net in that situation. And that's what he has a natural instinct for. You know, he's shown that, as I said. So, you know, it's nice to have that. It doesn't mean that we can rely on him or we can expect it every time he comes on the pitch. But we were delighted with the contribution, as Johnny touched on, of him, and all the subs actually, when they came on, gave us a little bit of a lift, which we needed, and a little bit more of an attacking threat.
Be nice. I think Michael touched on before was, you know, it was sort of the nature of the game that Denmark were holding on to something, and naturally teams kind of do sort of sit back, and they brought a few players on up front that they sort of changed their front line, maybe lost a wee bit of organisation. But I think by the pressure we put on them, we did force that upon them as well. And like you say, I was able to step in and try and hit some longer passes. Paddy was the same. He was playing centre back with me. We were able to try and play the ball forward and force things. And I suppose at that stage of the game, I always kind of felt like we would get a chance. And I think we were defending a set piece at one point, and that was kind of the message. You know, we all believe, you know, we're going to get a chance in the next couple of minutes, and just try and put them under pressure as much as we could. Thanks. Yeah. Thank you.
Michael, given the nature of the game, some moments and importance and the unfortunate business of the last couple of days, would you expect Kazakhstan to be a little bit more fearful?
And no, I don't. I said after the game, I don't think, like, we don't need what happened on Friday night as any source of motivation. You know, the most important thing is, you know, is 3 points, and I think that they're coming in a good place. You know, they as I touched on, they haven't had many campaigns, I'm sure, where they've had back-to-back victories, for example. So, you know, they're in that situation where they've got momentum early in the campaign. We always talk about that ourselves as one of, you know, as a smaller nation or maybe a less known nation. That's imperative, you know, to challenge for the top 2 positions. We have to try and get momentum into our campaign, and we have to do that by winning the game on Monday. But they will see this as a big opportunity. There's no doubt about that, because they'll you know, come away from it believing they can win, and if they win, obviously they'll have had a fantastic start to the campaign.
Okay, that's a wrap, folks.
Thank you.
All right.